My job in Nirvana was to play the drums. I didn't stand out much in that band. In Nirvana, I learned a lot. Advice on what to do and not to do. And I think those things now apply to the Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl seemed to have whatever he wanted. A lot of money, fame, and the respect of music fans all over the world. He was Nirvana's drummer and helped make them famous. The lead singer, creator, and heart of Foo Fighters. It was a man who always had a big smile on his face, a lively look, and long hair that flowed like nothing could ever bring him down. He was in one of the most successful rock bands of all time and had played on hundreds of stages, from dusty garages to the bright lights of Wembley. Behind that smile, though, were the cracks from a rough childhood and the shock of seeing his best friend kill himself. His second partner died at age 50, just as they were writing the next part of their musical dream. Love slip-ups, charges, and years when he had to scream over the constant ringing in his ears just to hear his own band play. Due to his constant stage presence, Dave Grohl is not a celebrity. He became famous because there were times when it looked like he would never get back up, but he did. His story is here. What happened to an artist who felt betrayed by music but chose to keep playing because of it? Beginnings. On January 14, 1969, Dave Grohl was born in Warren, Ohio, into a middle-class family. Father works as a reporter and mother teaches English. He didn't have a smooth childhood. Instead, it was more like an unfinished test, with interruptions, crashes, and silences that come out of nowhere. Dave's parents split up when he was only 7 years old. The breakup of the family left a hole that no song could fill. His sister and him moved to Virginia to live with their mother. Their mother was the only person who would ever back his music career. Those years when Dave didn't have a father to guide him were lonely, and he turned to music as a way to feel better. As Dave wrote in his autobiography, The Storyteller, the time my parents got divorced was also the time I discovered music. I started to play the drums. Starting out wasn't easy, though. It was against his strict and traditional father's will for his son to become a singer. Grohl once said he couldn't play music because he had bad grades. During one fierce fight, he wrote a letter saying he was leaving home. For teens, it wasn't just a way to rebel. That was the start of a long breakup between a father and son. And yet, Dave still picked up the drums and guitar. His only teacher was himself. He learned by copying his heroes, such as Neil Peart, Rush, and John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. At age 17, he even got Bonham's famous three-circle sign tattooed on his arm. His interest in music didn't come from school, official training, or a clear path. Only gut was telling him what to do. That instinct, which was wild, honest, and unbending, turned a broken boy into a musician who was ready to drum until his hands hurt just to show that he was real. Beginners in their careers. Dave used to play the guitar, but now he plays the drums. Self-taught from scratch. There were no books or teachers, just sound and feel. To learn, he listened to cassette tapes of drum parts and copied every beat. Then improvising based on feeling alone. Laughing, Grohl once said, "I learned to play drums the same way I learned to fall." Anytime you fall, you learn how to get back up. Later that year, when Dave's first band, Mission Impossible, broke up, he joined a local hardcore punk band called Dane Bramage. Sadly, that trip did not last long either. Later, he got his first big break. Dave heard about Scream, which is one of the most well-known names in Washington, D.C. They needed a new drummer for their tough band. He lied about being 20 years old at the audition when he was only 17. Since he was 20, he could go on tour. His whole life changed because of a little lie that became famous. Scream took the high school dropout on because he impressed him with his raw skill and explosive energy. Just a few weeks later, Dave quit school for good, got in the van, and took off, literally. He played with Scream for 4 years straight, playing in dirty dive bars and small clubs all over Europe. He learned how to deal with being a working musician by tuning his kit, setting up his gear, sleeping in gas stops, eating cheap food, and playing the drums with all his strength. Dave once said, "I have no schooling, but I learned everything from Scream. How do I stay alive? What it means to play live, and, most importantly, how to keep the fire going when everything else is going down." Later, on tour in California in 1990, Scream suddenly broke up. The future looked bleak after bassist Skeeter Thompson quit the band without giving a reason. That gap was filled with one phone call that changed everything. Nirvana was told about Dave by Buzz Osborne, lead singer of the Melvins and a friend of Kurt Cobain, seeking a new drummer. When Kurt and Chris saw Dave play with Scream, they were blown away right away. After the fact, Chris said, "We played loud, heavy music and needed a drummer who could bring the thunder." He was there when Dave came in. There weren't any more trials. Dave Grohl became the new drummer for Nirvana. From the height of street punk to the height of grunge, the long, rough road awaited. That year, he didn't know that his name would be mentioned along with Kurt Cobain's as one of the men who changed music forever. A successful career. It wasn't the first band Dave Grohl was in, but Nirvana made him famous and left a wound that would never fully heal. Before Grohl joined Nirvana in 1990, he had a short but strong meeting with Kurt Cobain and Chris Novoselic. Even though the three men have very different personalities, they somehow work together perfectly. Cobain's mind was broken and full of questions that couldn't be answered. Dave was full of life and ready to hit the snare drum to drown out his own worries. Christ was calm and balanced. In 1991, Nirvana put out Nevermind, and things were never the same again. In just a few months, these Seattle boys became the voice of a whole generation. The hit song Smells Like Teen Spirit hit a nerve with millions of unhappy American teens and young adults in the early 1990s. Glam metal gods were torn down by Nirvana, who then built something raw, real, and scary in their place. A style of music. Even with all of this going on, Dave Grohl was still the new guy. He never played the drums for no reason, though. What's more, it was the band's soul. In addition to playing the drums, he yelled through them. It wasn't just music for Grohl. Every beat was feeling. Intense, chaotic, and rough, but deadly accurate. Shortly after, his creative style started to come through. Grohl composed the heavy drum beat for the 1993 album In Utero's track, Scentless Apprentice. He even helped with the guitar riff. That was the first time Cobain really let Grohl and him work together on a song, which is a rare sign that Nirvana might become a stronger unit. However, that would not take place. Nirvana went on a long, hard European tour in early 1994. Still, Kurt decided to go even though he didn't want to. He was mentally weak and sick the whole time, and his marriage to Courtney Love was having trouble. Nirvana's last show was in Munich on March 1st, 1994, but no one knew it would be their last. On April 5th, 1994, Kurt Cobain killed himself at his home in Seattle. 3 days after that, his body was found. The 25-year-old Dave Grohl was crushed. Not crying or talking, just quiet and the feeling that a part of him had died. He said, "When Kurt died, I was lost," in a 2013 South by Southwest address. Feeling nothing. Music had let me down and broken my heart. I thought it would save me. Grohl turned down every possibility of joining another band. He played the drums for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers on live TV and was even asked to join the band. He said no, though. He knew he had to make his own thing. It came from the pain, not just follow someone else's idea. He started turning the songs he wrote in Nirvana into albums. He played all the instruments himself, including the drums, guitar, bass, and lead singing. He didn't have a record label or a public relations plan. He was just a man using music to heal. He gave the idea the name Foo Fighters. It sounded like a band, but one person was playing it first. The Foo Fighters' first record came out in 1995. It made a lot of noise in the American rock scene, even though it didn't get much attention. Songs like This Is a Call, Big Me, Alone, and Easy Target showed that Grohl was more than just a drummer. After that, he put together a real band with Pat Smear, ex-Nirvana, Nate Mendel, bass, and William Goldsmith. Drummers, but it wasn't a smooth ride at all. Grohl didn't like Goldsmith's drum parts on The Color and the Shape, 1997, so he quietly re-recorded them all himself. This caused Goldsmith to quit. Some people said Grohl was too controlling, but it also showed how strict his artistic standards were, even with close friends. After that, Foo Fighters began an amazing journey that has now been going on for almost 30 years. They have 15 Grammy Awards, including 5 for Best Rock Record, 9 studio albums, and dozens of global hits. Songs like Walk, My Hero, Everlong, and The Pretender have become classics. Grohl did more than just play music. He sold out shows at Wembley, Lollapalooza, Glastonbury, and more. The documentary Sound City, 2013, the Sonic Highways series, 2014, and What Drives Us, 2021, were all made by him. Played drums for Queens of the Stone Age, Tenacious D, and many other bands, and started side projects like them Crooked Vultures and Probot. From being a punk drummer to a Nirvana survivor, Dave Grohl changed. The real kind of rock and roll that is still alive and well is represented by him. Personal things not on stage. It's not true that Dave Grohl is a shy artist or a flashy rock star. He has lived, sinned, and caused pain, but he has always tried to hold on to the most important things, even after all the loses. Families. He got married for the first time to photographer Jennifer Youngblood in 1994. Within the mental chaos that followed Kurt Cobain's death and Nirvana's breakup. Before they got divorced in 1997, they lived together for a short time. Grohl later told The Guardian that the breakup was because he cheated on his wife, which is something he has never denied. In the late 1990s, he went out with Veruca Salt singer Louise Post. Louise herself said in a later interview that the romance ended badly. Grohl was like a young, wild rock star who wasn't ready to settle down yet. In 2001, when he met Jordan Blum, a director and editor who worked in the media, everything changed. Their daughter Violet May was born in 2006, their daughter Harper Willow in 2009, and their daughter Ophelia Saint in 2014. When Grohl hit middle age, his family became the most important thing in his life. Violet, the oldest, has been musically talented since she was young and has played with her dad many times. In 2018, she got a lot of attention when she sang "When We Were Young" by Adele at a charity event while Grohl played guitar. In 2021, she sang on Foo Fighters' record Medicine at Midnight on the song "Making a Fire." This was a clear sign that music was becoming a family tradition. Grohl has a lot of support for his kids' arts careers. He's a great dad who takes his kids to and from school, takes care of them when they're sick, and stays out of trouble for his family. Even though he doesn't talk about his personal life very often, he often says that his wife and children are what keep him going in interviews. Unfortunately, he also lost his mother, Virginia Hamlin Grohl, in 2023. After teaching English for a while, she wrote the book From Cradle to Stage, 2017, which looks at the lives of moms who raised famous musicians. She has always been there for Dave's work and has even gone on a few tours with him. Grohl was devastated when she died, and he wrote about it in the track The Teacher on the record, But Here We Are, 2023. It's a multi-layered emotional epic about the stages of losing a mother. It became the most important thing he had ever written, according to him. The sudden death of Grohl's best friend and Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins on March 25, 2022, in Colombia may have been the biggest shock in his personal life recently. After Taylor joined the band in 1997, they had not been apart for 25 years. They had more in common than just being in the same band. Grohl said in an interview that their friendship was so strong that we didn't need words. Because Hawkins died, Foo Fighters had to stop their tours and spend time in mourning. There were no big remarks or reasons given for the flaws in his life. Dave Grohl lives his truths in the open. He was a careless young husband, a confused new dad, and a quiet son who sat by his dying mother's side. Now that he is older, he uses music to connect with the people he has lost and the people he still holds close. Right now, life and memory. At age 56, Dave Grohl is not the wild man with long hair who used to tear through a snare drum like a storm. He's still there, though, under the lights, among the thousands of people screaming, and in the memories of a whole generation that grew up with rock music. He is still, more than anything else, a live example of how to be strong and never back down, give up, or lie to yourself. Grohl and Foo Fighters started the Everything or Nothing at All tour in 2024. It was a continuation of the album But Here We Are, which was made after Grohl's mother, Virginia, died and drummer Taylor Hawkins died. The show went to 19 stadiums in the US and Europe and drew hundreds of thousands of fans who came for more than just the music. A quiet handoff between parents and children. Grohl didn't perform by himself in London. Alongside him, his oldest daughter Violet sang Show Me How, and Taylor's son Shane Hawkins played the drums during the encore. It was extra than just a show. Music was passed down like blood, as if it were alive, breathing, and timeless. Grohl started slowing down behind the stage after a while of keeping up a fast pace. The Foo Fighters abruptly canceled their planned shows in South America and Asia in 2025. While there was no formal statement, it was widely reported in Western media that Grohl needed time to get his personal life back on track. After he told the public in late 2024 that he had a daughter from a connection with someone other than his wife. People were upset about the news, but Grohl didn't try to avoid it or hide. No big announcements or press conferences, just a short, honest note stating the truth and his plan to be responsible for both his present family and the new child. Since he has admitted to making mistakes in the past, this wasn't about how he looked. It was about being honest. Even though Grohl quit touring all the time, he still performed. In April 2025, he performed at Coachella with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, playing Everlong and The Sky is a Neighborhood with an orchestra. Grohl was different. He was more grounded and thought about things, but he still had the wild spirit of his youth. He feels the effects of time. Many years of playing loud music have left Grohl with lifelong hearing loss and tinnitus in one ear, making it almost deaf. He can't hear well in busy places anymore and needs special sound systems on stage to feel the beat. Not that he ever complains. In fact, he said in an interview that winning Grammys wasn't the most emotional part of his work. He loved hearing his daughter sing his songs in her own voice and style. And that might be the best way to describe Dave Grohl's impact. It's not awards or top positions or sold-out shows at Wembley or Madison Square Garden that matter. What matters is the ability to inspire. Like a kid, he learned to play the drums on old recording tapes. Now that he's an adult, he teaches his daughter how to play the guitar. From being a drummer in the shade of Nirvana, he became the voice that led a band through the highs and lows of 30 years. Some of his best friends, his mother, and some of his hearing were taken away. He kept writing songs and playing them, and in each one, he changed what life meant. Despite breaking his leg on stage in Sweden in 2015, Grohl didn't leave the show. He got up from the stretcher, picked up a guitar, and played the rest of the show. He wrote a new record to honor his best friend and brother-in-law Taylor Hawkins after he died. The Teacher was the book he wrote after his mother died. This is for her, not for the people. When everyone thought he was going to quit, he came back on stage with a symphony orchestra and the same smile that's been on his face for decades. Unfortunately, Dave Grohl did not live to become famous. He lived to protect the things that are most real in an artist: their freedom, their honesty, and their determination. In a music world where artists are becoming less important and more easily forgotten, it's his influence that has lasted for more than 30 years. That might be his most important contribution. Dave Grohl didn't originate the grunge movement. He is neither the best singer nor the most skilled drummer. Many music stars rose to fame and then faded, but Grohl is one of the few who is still going strong, not because of fame, but because he is always honest with himself. As a child growing up in a broken home, he taught himself to drum as a way to deal with his loneliness. He then entered Nirvana and saw it grow and fall. Kurt Cobain killed himself, but Grohl didn't break down or hold on to the past. Rather than replacing Nirvana, he started a new band from scratch to save his own life. Today, Foo Fighters is one of the most famous rock bands in the world 30 years after they formed. Grohl has been through a breakup, a personal scandal, an injury, the death of a best friend, the loss of loved ones, and having his hearing get worse. But he has never given up on the most important thing: his idea that music can heal. Millions of people look to him as a live example of a generation that has been hurt by heartbreak, but never given up hope. He doesn't scream for titles or write books to brag. Not in the usual sense. Dave Grohl is not a hero. He is what it means to keep going, to live, to make music, and to love even when loss is too great to describe. I think that's why no one will ever forget him.